Chuck, what has surprised you the most about this series so far?
Well, a couple of things. One, I think the poise that the Mavericks have played with in the first two games has really been notable. And even with Luka having 7 turnovers in game 2, which are too many, the fact is whenever the Clippers have really tried to challenge them, they've always had an answer. They've never let the Clippers have one of those 11-0 runs or 18-2 runs or anything like that. And their poise, especially in the fourth quarter, has been notable. And the way they closed out games, and just know that in the fourth quarter, who's been the leading scorer for the Mavericks in the first 2 games in the fourth quarter? Jalen Brunson had 9 in the fourth quarter of game 1. Josh Richardson had 9 in the fourth quarter of game 2. It's not KP. It's not Hardaway. It's not even Luka. It's those guys. And obviously Brunson's been a good fourth quarter scorer all year. But still, the fact is they have a team, a real team that has a lot of moving parts that can do some significant damage. And on the other side, what has shocked me is just how poor the Clippers defense has been, and the stubbornness with which they have elected to play a style that I don't think against the Mavericks is a particularly effective style right now, because you just can't automatically switch everything. And yet this is what they have tried to do, and they've gotten burned terribly by it.
Yeah, what has happened to this lockdown, best in the league perimeter defense of just putting Kawhi on Luka? You're at that point now where you're almost down 3-0. Paul George strictly on there, or can you just not do that in this pick and roll era, Chuck?
I guess teams will say we just can't do it, but it's just the fact that somehow you allow that first switch to take place, to where you're going to have Zubac play against Luka in an automatic switch. That's to me, that's just nonsensical. Excuse me. It just doesn't. I don't understand. I can't understand why, especially after Luka just torched, in game 1, that you would allow the exact same thing to happen in game 2. I mean, and especially if you are Kawhi and you are Paul George and you are these so-called lockdown defenders, wouldn't you want the challenge of saying, I got him. And maybe you don't do it every time down the floor, but, Kawhi says, okay, I got him, X number of times. And George says, I got him X number of times, because those are the guys that can stop him. Those are the guys, with length and strength that could potentially make Luka do something different. But they've not done that. And Luka he's just eviscerated them. I mean, he's made them look ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Coop, did that 18 or so game stretch give nationally people a false idea of what the Mavs really are? Because, they've been really good outside of that. if they're going to get 60 points or so from Maxey and Hardaway and Porzingis, I don't know how many teams are going to wind up beating this team. Do you think that we kind of got fooled by how good this Mavs team really is?
Well, I don't know about the we. I think maybe outside of Dallas-Fort Worth, or maybe those who haven't watched their team on a regular basis, probably fell into that trap. And, they're looking at the overall numbers as opposed to, say, even the most recent numbers coming to the end of the season when they went 12-4. But, as I was saying at the start, they've shown themselves to have a lot of different guys who can do significant damage. And it doesn't necessarily have to carry itself for 48 minutes. Look at what Maxey did in the first quarter of game 2. It totally set the tone for what was going to happen, because he made them pay, for switching, and he was able to get himself into correct spots to knock down a couple of threes. Or then when they did try to close out on him, he was able to put the ball on the floor and get by him. And, Sean, you asked about surprises. That stunned me in game 2, how he started game 2 after the way Rick had basically described him, as questionable coming into the game, and, not having done a whole lot of work, having played 36 minutes in game 1, where, I think he only 4 of the times all year had he played 36 minutes in a game. So that's just another huge part of it. I mean, they're a really good team. Now, that other side, those two guys are still really good, and they're more than capable of taking over games and winning games by themselves. And that may have to be the case for the Clippers to win. But from that standpoint, I love what Carlisle said yesterday when he said, we've got to treat this like a road game. We can't depend on the emotion of 16,000 people in the building tonight to carry us. We've got to be able to start the game well, control the game, and if we do that, then we'll give ourselves a chance to win.